So we will be starting in 47 seconds. Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good day. I'm just going to make sure everything is working properly, and then we will get this lesson started, hopefully in about 33 seconds if everything works the way it's supposed to. I hope you're ready to learn a little bit about winter, or at least getting ready for winter. Sounds like everything's working properly. Yes. All systems go, we say in English. We'll start in a little over 10 seconds on this lesson about getting ready for winter. You can see by the picture that it's winter here, so we're ready. I'm ready for winter for sure. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about getting ready for winter. If you live in a country that experiences winter, there are a lot of things you need to do in order to get ready for winter. And in this lesson, I will talk about most of them. If you don't need to get ready for winter, you should still watch this lesson. Many of the things I talk about can also be used to talk about getting ready for other things. Maybe if you switch one word, it will mean getting ready for summer. For instance, one example, you sometimes put extra blankets on the bed to get ready for winter. You might have a colder season where you are, where you put an extra blanket on the bed. So even though the lesson is about getting ready for winter, it is a multi-use lesson. You will learn many useful phrases in this English lesson. So once again, welcome to this English lesson about getting ready for winter. Hey, why do you think I'm doing a lesson about getting ready for winter? Because as you can see from this picture, it's winter here. It is really winter. It snowed. It's minus 10 right now. It was minus 12 degrees Celsius earlier this morning. So yes, it's definitely cool here. Let me pin the, let me see, how do I do that? Let me pin the Nightbot message. So if you have a question, please use the link that Nightbot has linked there for you. And if you want the link to pop up, you can obviously type !link and it will pop up for you. Hey, yes, winter. I love winter. It's super cold right now. It might snow later today. This is great for Bob the Canadian, a great day. Anyways, hi to Wanda, Redfish, Beige Blur, Annette, Key Park, Mohammed, Redfish and Crawfish, Lolly as I scroll back, Freddie Wolf, Hafiez, Paco San, Kashif, Key Park, Vitor, John, couple Johns here, Ismail, hi to all of you, Hafiez, Ruslan, Yoshi, Wang Yufei, Burgit is here as well. Good to see some familiar faces and maybe some new faces. Hi to Unsel as well. I see you there, Unsel. And Sejcik, I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly, but hello to all of you. Are you ready for a very cold lesson? If you are, I think we should get started. Let me just open up my slides on this other screen here. I usually have them open, but I didn't. I forget. What did I call them? Ready for winter? I think so. There they are. Ready for winter. Okay, here we go. Get out the winter coat. So in Canada and in other cold countries, we often put away our warm winter coats in the spring. So when spring arrives and when I don't need my winter coat, we actually put it in the basement, sometimes in a box, or sometimes we hang it in a closet. But then when cold weather comes, you need to get out the winter coat, or get out your winter coat. You can see this person here is nice and cozy and warm wearing their winter coat. So what this means for me is I go to the basement, I find my winter coat. You can see me wearing it right here, and I start to wear my winter coat. But first I have to find it and get it out. Another thing I do is I put on the snow tires. We also call these winter tires. I'm not sure if all of you are aware, but there are different kinds of tires that we use in the winter in colder countries. The rubber is a little softer. So in really cold weather, the tires grip the road really, really well. So it's just handy to have. When it gets super cold out, it's nice to be able to stay on the road instead of sliding off the road. So when there's a bit of snow on the road or when there's a bit of ice on the road, it's nice to have your snow tires on, or what we also call winter tires. And then you might want to stop drafts. There's two ways to spell this word. This is the long, complicated way. You can also spell it as air that blows under the door or from the around your window. If your windows and doors aren't sealed nicely, you might have drafts. And this is something called a draft dog. Some people have these types of things to lay along the bottom of a door to stop wind from blowing in. There are many other things you can do to stop a draft. You can put stuff on the door itself to stop a draft, but this is something people do. They stop drafts. Put an extra blanket on the bed. Jen and I actually did this a few weeks ago already. When the nights start to get colder, your house starts to get a bit colder. In fact, most people in cold countries have their house go a little colder at night than it probably goes in the summer. At least we do. And so we put an extra blanket on the bed. This sometimes is called a duvet. Sometimes in my part of Canada, we call it a comforter. It has many names. Some people might call it a quilt, but there are lots of thick, warm types of blankets, and you will probably put one of those on your bed so that you stay warm at night. Last night in particular was quite cold, so it was nice to have an extra blanket on the bed. You're also going to get out your gloves. You're going to get out your winter hat, or what I call a toque. You're going to want to cover up. So I would not go outside with my hands uncovered right now. I would not go outside with my head uncovered. It's way too cold for that. So you're going to get out your gloves. You're going to get out your winter hat. We keep all of these in a box in the spring, summer, and fall, and then we pull out the box, and then you hope that you can find a matching pair. Sometimes one glove will disappear. Similar to when... let me just check something for a second here. Let's go to this screen. So people say the internet is glitching. The internet doesn't work. Oh yeah, it's doing some strange things, isn't it? Hopefully, I think if you refresh your screen, it should be fine. Let's see here. Yeah. It was a little glitchy for a bit. Now it looks like it's working. So when I refreshed my screen, it seems to be working better. So hopefully, I will keep an eye on it, but hopefully we can keep moving along here and make sure it's working. I should check the chat more often to make sure. Anyways, you should get out your gloves, get out your winter hat. Here's something that some people think is controversial and bad for the planet, but you start to warm up your car in the morning. I usually start my car about 5 minutes before I leave. Some people say you don't need to do this, but I like to warm up the car so that I can clean the windshield and the side windows better. So you sometimes need to warm up the car in order to be able to drive safely. So sometimes I get up early so that I can warm up the car for about 3 or 4 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes, so that when I get in, it's warm, but also so that the ice and snow has melted off the windows. And then you need to put the ice scraper and snow brush in the car. If you are not familiar with these two tools, this is one that has a scraper at one end and a snow brush at the other. So this is what you use to clean off your car windows in the morning. So when you get up on a winter morning, you need to get up earlier because you probably want to start your car and let it run for a few minutes, and you're going to need to clean the windows. So normally we do not have an ice scraper or a snow brush in our car in the spring, summer, and fall. So in the fall, late fall, we put the ice scraper and snow brush in the car just so that you can clean the windows. It's important to be able to see when you drive. So this is something, I don't have a snowblower like this. I have one that goes on the tractor, but a snowblower is a machine that you only use in the winter. So when you are getting ready for winter, it's important to check the oil, fill the snowblower with gas, and start it up. You don't want to start your snowblower for the first time during the first snowstorm. You want to be ready for the first snowstorm. So if you start the snowblower, when it's a nice warm day in the late fall, then you are ready for winter. So you should definitely start the snowblower at least once, make sure everything works properly, and do this before you get a large snowfall. You should find the shovel. There are things called snow shovels. They're designed especially for shoveling snow. You should probably find the snow shovel if you are getting ready for winter. Sometimes our snow shovel gets used other places on our property, and then it's not in the right spot. So you might need to find the snow shovel so that when it snows, you can shovel the snow. And then put warm clothes in your car. So if you live in a country like Canada or one of the countries that experiences cold winter, you should always have gloves, winter hats, maybe a blanket, maybe an old winter coat. You should have these things in your car all the time so that if you go in the ditch or if your car breaks down, you can stay warm. When I go to work, I wear gloves, a winter hat, and a winter coat, but I don't always dress warm enough to be outside for a long period of time. I'm warm enough to be outside for 10 or 15 minutes or more, but if my car broke down, I would probably put on another winter coat over top of my winter coat and maybe warmer gloves. So it's important to put warm clothes in your car so that you're ready in case your car breaks down in the winter, or if your car breaks down, or if you go in the ditch. That happens. Sometimes you slide off the road. You should get the furnace serviced. So a furnace is an appliance that heats your house. You should make sure that it's working properly. It is very important that the house stays warm in the winter. So you will call someone to come and service your furnace, not necessarily every year, but maybe every 2 years or every 5 years. You will have a professional person come to service your furnace. Hey, let me just check to make sure everything's working. I hope it is. It said there was an error. If the audio and the video are not synchronized, if you refresh your screen, it should work properly. Thanks for letting me know in the chat that was happening. Let's look at a few questions, and then we'll get going. Ruslan, hello, dear teacher Bob. In winter, do you use auto start in your car alarm or just start the engine when you get into the car? I don't have auto start. I don't have my keys here. Some people have cars where you can remote start the car. I don't have that. And some people in the city make sure they start their car and then lock it while it's running. And then they have an extra set of keys because they don't want someone to steal their car. So I usually go out and start the car and then I come back in. From Unsel, hi, happy winter season. Can you briefly talk about the winter preparation process on the farm in general? Thank you, bye. Generally, anything that can freeze, we bring into the garage or the house. So pumps, hoses get drained. I'll talk about that in a minute. But water, when it freezes, expands. So it's important that you don't leave water in places where it can freeze and break things. So from Denis, hello Bob. Canada is a land where frostbite and sunburn happen in the same week. And what was the coldest, warmest winter in your memory? You can get a sunburn in the winter. You can get frostbite in the winter. You can get windburn if the wind hits your face, cold wind. All of that can happen. So yes. What was the coldest, warmest winter in your memory? You know, it's been below minus 20 degrees Celsius a few times that I remember. I don't remember it being much colder than minus 25, maybe almost minus 30. But usually the coldest days are days where it's minus 10 and windy. The wind can make it feel much colder than it actually is outside. This is from Siavash. Since today's topic is getting ready for winter, it's a dope idea to warm up our facial or even body muscles by saying words like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Yeah, that is a made up word, but I think it is the longest word. Redfish says, do you love winter? Yes, I like the feeling. Yesterday I went for a walk outside in the cold and I just love it. It's kind of a weird thing to like, but I really, really do like winter. Namsu in the chat says, hi, Bob. Hi, Namsu. I like to say, respond a little bit to the chat because sometimes people think this isn't live. Brent says, popping in for a minute before class. Great topic. Hit the like button. Thanks, Brent. I hope you're having a good winter there as well. Where are you from? You are from Canada, right? I am. I am from just outside of Hamilton, Ontario. Close to Niagara Falls. I'm about 45 minutes from the falls. Brent and I have similar winter weather, actually. I think Brent is probably a bit colder and gets probably a lot more snow, actually. I think Maine, where he lives in Maine, is a little snowier than here, but pretty similar. If he has a snow day, it's a good chance I might have a snow day as well. Let's see. From Henry, hi, Teacher Bob. Is hot pot restaurant popular in Canada? Have you ever tried it in winter? Thank you. Every kind of restaurant is popular. I have not been to a hot pot restaurant, but it sounds like a good place to go when it's cold outside. We love hot food and hot drinks in the winter. So coffee, hot chocolate, tea are all very popular drinks in the winter, as well as soup and stew is very popular as a meal. Zeravan, for winter I bought 400 liters of gas. Every day we spend about 4 to 6 liters of gas, and now a day the temperature is not very cold. So it is important. Jen and I often, when we know the weather's going to be bad, we make sure that the cars have enough gas in them in case we have to go somewhere. It's always a good idea to double check that kind of thing. So stock up on gas. From Bridget, because of climate changes, unfortunately, we have more rainy and stormy weather than snow. Do you realize the climate change in Toronto too? So last winter was a very warm winter. It was kind of disappointing. So I'm hoping that this winter is a real winter with lots of snow and lots of days where it's below 0 degrees Celsius. That would make me very, very happy. From Fatima, what do we call people that go live temporarily, little switch there, to warmer places in the winter to beat the cold? In Canada, we often call them snowbirds. Older people who are retired, who live in Ontario and Quebec, in those two provinces, often go to the southern US for several months in the winter. In English, in my part of Canada, we call them snowbirds. They're people who love to live in Florida or in other southern US states in the winter. Florida is the most common in order to avoid winter. I don't know if I will ever do that because I really do like winter. Off topic from Hakan, do you have any plans to visit Turkey in the future? Maybe. I don't know. I haven't even visited. Maybe. Let's leave it at that. We'll say maybe for sure. Let's see here. Brent says, I watched Bob's short lesson this morning. It looks like we have about the same amount of snow right now. Yeah. Not quite enough. Just a little bit. If it had been another 5 or 10 centimeters, I probably would have had a snow day yesterday. Let's see here. Boat Panda, is it warm in your car? Thanks, Bob. So we bought a used car, like a new car, but it's 10 years old. I don't know if you understand that. And it's the first vehicle we have that has heated seats. I've never had that before. I don't like it. But all cars in Canada and the United States have heaters. So when you start the car, you turn on the heater and then your car gets warm. Let's see here. Let me have a sip of water and we will get back. We'll get back to the lesson. Ready? Let me just double check everything since we had a few little glitches earlier. Yeah, now it looks like everything's working the way it is supposed to. Check the windows. So an interesting thing happens. Sometimes around your windows, there's something called caulking and it can fall out. And then you will find out there's a draft by that window. So usually about once a year or every other year, we go around and we check the windows to see if there are any spots where air can blow in. And then you can find different things. You can buy different things to put around the window to stop it. Half of our windows are, sorry, I'm trying to think about how to say this. Most of our windows are fairly new, so we don't have this problem. But when our windows were older, before we had them replaced, we often did this. We would check and then kind of make sure, put the markers along the driveway. Many of you see this in my lessons and ask, what are all those orange sticks that you put along your driveway? This person has put orange sticks along the sidewalk. We sometimes put orange sticks along our driveways because when it snows, you can't tell what is driveway and what is grass. And people sometimes drive on the grass or on the lawn. So when we know winter is coming before the ground freezes, we often will put out these orange stakes or sticks. Some of them are reflective so that people know where the driveway is so that they don't drive on the lawn. Bring in outdoor plants. If you have any plants in pots, most plants do not like winter. They die. And so you might bring them in. Sometimes you leave them out until they go dormant in the fall. So sometimes when plants sense cold weather, they stop growing and they go dormant. And then you put them in the garage or in the basement where they won't freeze, so that next spring you can take them out again. You might get out the sleds. Sometimes we have to find the sleds when winter is coming because we might want to go sledding or what is sometimes called tobogganing. So you might go and get out the sleds so that they're ready to use. By the way, sleds don't work very well when they're warm. So we often keep our sleds in the garage where it's colder or even outside because a warm sled, when you put it on the snow, just melts the snow and it sticks. So we often get the sleds out early so they're ready to use. By the way, sledding is when you slide down a hill on the snow on a sled. It is a lot of fun. You might find your skates if you're someone who likes to skate. You might get out your skis. You might get out your skates. We have skates that we keep in our basement in storage. So in the fall and late fall, when winter is approaching, we will find our skates. Sometimes it's hard to find because I share my skates with my son. So I have to figure out who used them last and where they are. You'll need to prepare to leave early, or you'll need to start to leave early. What this means is that when winter comes, it takes longer to get to work because you need to drive slower. So yesterday, I drove about 70 kilometers an hour on my way to work. The speed limit is 80 kilometers an hour, and usually I drive 90 kilometers an hour. I drive a little bit faster than the speed limit. But when it starts to snow, when the roads start to get a bit of snow and ice on them, you need to slow down. Sometimes I can only drive 50 kilometers an hour on my way to work if it's really snowy, if it's hard to see. So you need to prepare to leave early or be ready to leave early for work for the whole winter. You need to start setting your alarm earlier because you need to clean off the car, you need to start the car, and then you will need to drive more slowly on the way to work. If you have a generator, you might want to fuel up the generator. Winter sometimes brings really, really bad storms. So sometimes it's a good idea to be prepared for a power outage. If the power goes out if there's no electricity for a day, you need a generator in order to run your furnace and to run a heater and to keep your house warm. So it's always good to fuel up your generator. So this depends on the type of tap you have, but you might want to turn off outside taps. Outside taps are interesting because this is an outside tap. When you turn it, the mechanism is on the inside of the house where it's warm. That's how an outside tap works. So you don't really have to turn them off. I guess that's a bad way to describe it, but you have to make sure there's no hose connected to it, and that part that goes through the wall can drain freely. Hopefully I explained that well and you understand what I am saying. So you need to drain everything. If you have any garden hoses outside, you should drain them. Garden hoses outside, you should drain them. If you have a bird bath, you should empty it. If you have anywhere where water can freeze, you should take the water out when you are getting ready for winter, because water, when it freezes, expands. So if you have a cup of water and you freeze it, there will be more ice when it's frozen than there was water. And that is very destructive. Water can break things very easily. Water is very strong when it freezes. When it turns to ice and it expands, it can break bird baths. It can, if you have a water pump outside with water in it, it will break the steel. It will break everything. Water, we drain everything. So drain means to take the water out of it. You should put away your patio furniture and you should clean up the yard. Once it starts to snow, it can be quite a mess. Snow is beautiful, but there are certain things you do not want to have outside. So this is outdoor furniture, or what we call patio furniture. And there's even a barbecue on the far side there. Let me make it a bit bigger. You want to put away your patio furniture, or at least cover it. Some people have special covers for their patio furniture. And you'll want to do this for a couple reasons. One, it will get covered in snow. And two, it might blow away. Like, it gets really windy in the winter as well. You also want to clean up your yard. Oh, let me check the focus here. We're all good. You don't want to leave things out in the winter, because when it snows, they get covered. So if you leave a shovel on the lawn and it snows, and then you're out running with your dog, you might step on the shovel and trip. So it's a good idea to clean everything up so that your yard is nice and tidy and ready for winter. Hey, let's do members only chat. It's a little bit early, but let's get that started. Let me give Nuna, oh no, I'm in the right spot. There we go, members only chat, save. Okay, if you are a member, you may ask questions directly in the chat, and I will keep answering questions from the form as well. And we will get back to the lesson in about 10 minutes. If you're wondering what's happening, it's members only chat time. People who are members of the channel can speak or can ask questions directly in the chat. If you become a member, you get an extra video on Wednesdays, although this week it came out on Thursday. You get a little lesson plan on Mondays. You get your name in green, and you can ask questions during the live stream during members only chat. It's kind of fun. Let me get a question on the screen here from Vajiv. Bob, hi. If you wouldn't have teaching skills, what would you choose to study and be engaged with? Probably farming or something in the computer field. So I really like technology and I also like farming. I would probably be doing one of those two things. Let me see here. From Mikola, what was the lowest temperature you experienced in your area? Thank you. So when I lived in Quebec City, it was minus 33 degrees once. I think I'm getting that right. In this area, I think like minus 20 for a few days in a row is pretty common each winter. Minus 25, minus 26 Celsius, that's really cold. I think that's about the coldest I have ever experienced here. From the chat, Freddie Wolf says, "Hey Bob, with minus 10°C, do you Oscar and Walter and the cats in a shelter where they can keep warm in order not to freeze on the spot outside? Merci beaucoup. Here the temperature is 10 degrees Celsius. It's cold." Our cats live in the barn, and they are acclimatized to the cold. So they're in a sheltered area, but it's not heated, but they all sleep together and keep each other warm. Oscar and Walter get to sleep in the garage, and our garage never goes below 0. So they grow extra, like they grow extra fur in the winter, and they do go outside with Jen quite often. But they spend quite a bit of time in the front entrance of our house where it's 20 degrees Celsius, and a lot of time in our garage where it's also warmer. So Wanda Prado, hi Teacher Bob. Is there another alternative to heat the house instead of using the furnace? Thanks. Have a nice weekend. There are many ways to heat a home. Some people will use a wood stove and burn wood. Some people will have a boiler, which heats water, and then the water goes through pipes to radiators in the house. Some people have a furnace that burns natural gas, or a furnace that burns oil, or a furnace that burns propane. Mine burns propane. And some people have electric heaters. So there's many ways to heat a home. Good question. Lolly, in winter I get stressed driving on a glassy road. How about you, Bob? I do not like driving on slippery roads. That is my least favorite thing. Namsu, please explain to me Indian summer. That's when it stays warmer in the fall than you expect. Hafiz says to Lolly, do they call it black ice? I heard that term before. We often call it black ice. Black ice is when the road looks normal, but there's actually a layer of ice on it, because ice can be clear like glass. So it's hard sometimes to see if the road is icy. One of the things I often do when I leave, when I first pull on the road, as soon as my car is going straight and at a low speed, I give it a little bit of gas to see if my tires will spin. Like not like doing a burnout where there's smoke coming off them, but you can kind of get a sense of whether the road is slippery or not. Don't do that when you're going around a corner. You need to be going straight. And then sometimes I hit the brakes a little bit when I first start driving, just to see. John Wedge says, hi Bob, just to bring you an update. The baby is due in 80 days and it's been crazy around here. I had to buy wall cabinets to free up the future baby's room, which until now was used for storage. That is a pretty common thing. The storage room becomes the baby's room. So I'm glad things are going good, John. I hope that things keep going well. By the way, our baby already has a name. Her name will be Melissa. That is a very nice name. Lolly says, Hafiz, I don't know. Never heard that. Sorry. Yes, black ice. That's definitely what it's called, Lolly. When the road, it looks normal, but there's a thin layer of ice on it that's like glass. Hafiz says, Father of the Year. I mean, next year. Yes. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, says John. Thanks, John, for that. Freddie says, Bob, if you step on a rake that is hidden in the snow, you could be hit by it and be knocked out. Yes. Clean up the yard. That's always clean up the yard, everybody, before winter comes, if you live where there is winter. Let's see here. Happy is still doing archery during this winter, Bob? Yes. In fact, I bought a new bow, a better one. It's a little cold, so I'm trying to figure out what to do. I do it inside in the barn, but it's not heated. So I'm trying to figure out how to stay warm while I do it. Key Park, hi Bob. Do you need to remove the snow on the roof when the heavy snow days? Here, no. When I lived in Quebec City, though, which is a colder city, we did have to make sure the roof stayed clean because the snow is very heavy. We don't often get that much snow here. So usually there's like 2 inches or 3 inches on the roof. But yes, in some parts of the world, it's important to remove snow from the roof because it's so heavy it can damage the house. Let me see here. Get a question on the screen and have a sip of water. MD, hi, dear Bob. My cousin lives in Hamilton, Ontario. Is this city close to you? Yes, it's about 45 minutes away. It is the largest city near me. So I can go to Hamilton. I can also go to Toronto, which is about an hour and a half away. But yes, Hamilton is close to where I live. From Peter. Hi, Mr. Wise Man. How are you today? Your live stream is unique. No question today because I don't like the winter. Which season do you prefer? I hope you have a nice day. I love winter. I don't know what it is. I just really, really like winter. It is a beautiful time of year. So I'm sorry you don't like it, but I think it's amazing. Thanks for the explanation on black ice, says Hafiaz. No problem. Lolly says, thanks, Bob and Hafiaz. Yoshi, how is the Lake Ontario now? Some time ago, there wasn't no ice. There still is no ice, which actually causes a lot of snow. The way it works is when the lakes are warm at the beginning of winter, then when air blows across, it picks up moisture. And then when it hits land, it turns into snow. It's called lake effect snow. So both Lake Erie and Lake Ontario are still open water. There's no ice, so there will be quite a bit of snow if you live close to them. Key Park says, thank you, Bob. Hafia says, is the river near the house frozen? Yes. Oddly, like it usually doesn't freeze this early, but it is definitely frozen now. Hey, I'm going to turn off members only chat and we are going to get back to the lesson. Just give me a moment here. I will keep an eye on the chat for a sec here and do a couple more questions. Let me get that on the screen. William says, Teacher Bob, these both expressions are the same. I have to put away the backyard. I have to tidy the backyard. Thanks. No, you wouldn't put away the backyard. You would clean up the backyard. You would tidy up the backyard. You would tidy the backyard. All of those work, but you would not say, I have to put away the backyard. That will not work. Let's see here. From Gerald or Gerald. If you keep livestock like cows or horses and sheep, do they stock up on grass, bundle of grass? How is the process called? In the summer, we do what's called haying. So you cut long grass, you dry it, and you use a machine to make bales, and you store that inside. And then in the winter, those animals will eat that hay. That is how that process works. That's a great question. When you're getting ready for winter, you have to do some things in the summer. Some people cut firewood in the summer, and some people make hay for their animals in the summer. I should have included those two. Freddie Wolf says, have you already installed your Christmas tree? Yes. We set up our Christmas tree last weekend. It looks really nice. All of the lights worked. That's always a good thing. Sometimes the lights don't work from one year to the next. Okay, let's finish off this lesson and I will head off to work. Jen's going to start my car for me so I don't have to get up during the lesson to start my car. Always fill up. This is something you should do if you know bad weather is coming. So in the winter, something that's different than the summer, I don't often let my car get all the way to empty. Often when it's just below half or when it's at a quarter tank, I'll fill up because you don't always know when it's going to snow again. And more importantly, you don't know if you might get stuck. Either maybe you go off the road or you're in a traffic jam. And if you're doing that for a long period of time, you have to keep your car running to stay warm. So it's not, I don't know if everyone does this, but I keep my cars full. Like if it's half a tank, I'll fill up, especially if I know bad weather is coming. You need to wear layers. You can see I'm already doing that. I'm wearing 2 layers. When I put my coat on, I will have 3 layers. The best way to stay warm in cold weather is to wear layers. So when you're getting ready for winter, you will probably look for an extra t-shirt to wear underneath. Sometimes I'll wear 4 layers. I'll wear a t-shirt, a shirt with a collar, a sweater, and a coat when I go outside. When you wear layers, you stay warmer. It's kind of a funny thing that people might not understand. But if you wear a t-shirt, another shirt, a sweater, a vest, and then a coat, you will be really warm. The layers will keep you warm. So when you wear layers, this guy, it looks like he's wearing 1, 2, 3. He's probably wearing at least 4 layers of clothing. That will really help him stay warm. So getting ready for winter, you need to make sure you have the clothes you need to wear layers. Buy salt. This is a little controversial as well because it's not good for the environment, but salt will melt ice. So if you have a walkway in front of your house, if there's an area where you've cleared the snow away, but there's still ice, usually we will put salt on the ice to melt it. For some reason, salt and ice together, salt changes the freezing temperature of the water, so it will actually melt the ice. We do this a little bit on our front walkway. We usually put down some salt so that you don't slip and fall. So in order to do that, you need to buy salt in order to get ready for winter. Check to make sure the humidifier is working. A humidifier is an appliance that puts moisture into the air. It puts water into the air. When you heat your home, the air becomes drier. It's just a natural process. So some people will have a humidifier so that they can keep the air in their home more humid. And so you might want to check the humidifier to make sure it is working. You might want to change the furnace filter. The furnace is, again, the appliance that heats your home. And if you have one that has air going through it, there's usually a filter in it. In order for the furnace to work correctly, you should change your furnace filter. You should actually do this a lot more often than you might realize. We usually change ours every 6 to 8 weeks. But yes, you should change the furnace filter so the furnace runs properly. And then test your smoke alarms. So you should make sure they have fresh batteries in them and make sure they're working properly. Because you are going to start heating your home, that means somewhere in your home, there is a flame, like a furnace burns gas. A wood stove burns wood. You are using fire of some form to keep your house warm. So you should make sure that your smoke alarm and your CO2 detectors are all working properly. So make sure you do that. And then when you use your windshield wipers, you can squirt washer fluid onto your window. You should make sure you have winter washer fluid. Almost all washer fluid won't freeze, but winter washer fluid is even better. So this one goes down to -34 Fahrenheit. So that's really cold. This will not freeze. So it just is a good idea to have the right kind of washer fluid in your car. And then make sure you have flashlights and batteries. Sometimes in the winter, the power goes out and it's hard to see in the dark. In most countries that experience winter, it's also the time of year when the days are the shortest and the nights are the longest. Right now, at 4:45 in the afternoon, it starts to get dark here. By 5:15, 5:30, it is dark. And then it doesn't get light out again until 6 in the morning or something like that. So it's a very dark time of year. It's a time of year where there could be storms and the power might go out. So it's always a good idea to have flashlights and batteries. Most of the time we just charge our phones now though. Hey, that's the lesson. So that is really cool. Freddie Wolf says, cars don't like salt. It'll get roasted. Yeah, cars just rusted. Sorry, not roasted. It'll get rusted. We need a U there. Definitely. Del Gergirl says, if you keep livestock like cows, horses, or sheep, do they stock up on grass? Oh yeah, and I did answer that question. So yes, you usually put hay in the barn in the summer. Redfish says, because I use a smart thermostat, it will send me a notification when the filter needs to be changed. That's handy. I wish mine did that. It probably does. Maybe I just don't know where that setting is. Let's see here. Let me see. Ralph says, hi, everyone. Right on time to join the end of the lesson. Yes. Hafia says, -34 Fahrenheit is -37 Celsius. Yeah, because I think -40 is the same in Fahrenheit and Celsius, right? Tien says, I have never seen snow yet. Can we eat it? It looks like cream. You can eat fresh fallen snow. That's fine. But if snow has been on the ground for a while, it starts to get dirty. So if you want, you can eat the snow. I don't recommend it though. Cat Diary says, sometimes instead of salt, people use sand. Do they use sand in Canada to cover the roads? Yes. So on our roads in the winter, they will sometimes, before it starts to snow, they will put down salt or sand or a mixture of the two. They also have a new product made from beet juice that doesn't freeze. So you'll see them putting liquid onto the road sometimes before a storm. But yes, there are a number of different things you can put on the roads so that things don't freeze. Okay, a couple things before I go. Number one, this lesson will come out in a shorter format in a few days. You should watch it or listen to it. It will help you remember the things that you heard and the things that you learned. I will also be doing a live lesson tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll schedule that later today. It will be a Q&A lesson where you can ask me any questions you want about the English language or about me or whatever you want. It's just a fun time, an hour to spend some time together. So if you have time, pop by for that. I was going to say something else. This lesson comes out again tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's everything. By the way, the re-release, the shorter version, has fairly accurate subtitles. So if there were parts you didn't understand, go and watch that little 10-minute segment with the subtitles on, and hopefully that will help you understand it. But anyways, I'm going to say bye. I'm going to start my vehicle and go to work in 5 minutes. So bye, everybody. Bye to Lolly, Hafiez, Redfish, John Wedge, Ralph, Wanda Prado. I know Freddie's here, Hafiez. Let me scroll back. Ruslan, Pedro, Vitor, Unsul, Zihan, Celia, Tiantat, Turkek. So many people here. Let me just say bye to the people who say bye to me. So when the byes start rolling in the chat, I will stay by. Bye to Yoshi. Bye to Cat Diary. John Wedge, Key Park, Hafiez. Cat Diary says, thank you for this winter lesson. It's great. Have a beautiful winter ahead and have a nice weekend ahead. By the way, beet juice is a great idea, I think. It's biodegradable. Hafiez says, see y'all tomorrow. John says, do like Alicia, Bob. Ask any question on the live and I will answer you. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, bye to everybody. Have a good day. Thanks again for watching. I hope you learned a bit more English, and